to this week's framework tutoring video, and today we're going to be going over the most feared passage type on the reading section of the SAT, and that's the history or the sucky language passage. Anyone who's ever taken an SAT knows the feeling when you're going through, you feel confident, and then in the middle, you go across this passage that suddenly has words that you have no idea what they're saying, because they were written hundreds of years ago, and you're already trying to balance your time, use your strategies, answer your questions, and of course, you have to read these harder passages which are made to waste your time and make you, I guess, get more questions wrong. The history passage is undeniably one of the hardest passages on the SAT, but there's some strategies that you can use to maximize your success on the history passage. So today, I'm going to try my best to help you navigate the history passage. Just to save some time, I've already marked up the questions and then marked up the passage before I started reading. At this point, you should be pretty comfortable with this process. If you aren't, go back to your week 2 video. You should have been doing this and know how to do this for a couple of weeks. So let's get right into it. Once again, always got to read the title first, written by Virginia Woolf, talking about women in English society. Okay. Close at hand is a bridge over the river Thames, an admirable vantage ground for us to make the survey. The river flows beneath, barges pass, laden with timber, bursting with corn. There on one side are the domes and spires of the city, on the other, Westminster and the Houses of Parliament. It is a place to stand on by the hour, dreaming, but not now. Now we are pressed for time. Now we are here to consider facts. Now we must fix our eyes upon the processions of the sons of educated men. So already, this first passage presents us with some words that you normally wouldn't use in other passages in the SAT. There's a lot of formal wording here. Admirable vantage ground, bursting with corn, laden with timber, fix our eyes upon the procession. Some of these phrases you might already know what they mean, which is good, which is exactly what we want. But some of them are a little bit uncommon for our times, and they can throw a lot of readers off sometimes. So the biggest tip I have for the SAT history section is to not get caught up in the fancy wording. A lot of old authors will use very fancy words or literary devices to make their work sound pretty and educated, because back then, it was important to sound educated. The more educated you sound, the more trustworthy, I guess, or credible people viewed you. You could say that's still a little bit true today. I mean, like, scientific studies obviously have more credibility than a news article from an opinion post. But, yeah, this concept applied several hundreds of years ago as well. So, basically, the biggest thing that I recommend you do is not to let these flashy wording or flashy devices hide the summary or the main idea of the paragraph. So how do you find the main idea? Well, usually it's at the beginning and the end of a paragraph, and normally it's in very clear writing that you shouldn't struggle with to read. So I'm going to show you an example of that right now. Let's assume that I have no idea what admirable vantage ground means. I have no idea what laden with timber or bursting with corn is trying to get at, and I have no idea what fix our eyes upon the procession means. Even still, I can get a very good glimpse of what this passage is trying to say, because there's a couple sentences that are pretty easy to read. Close at hand is a bridge over the river Thames. That's just very basic. There's a bridge over the river Thames. And I don't know what an admirable vantage point means. It's talking about a survey. It's saying the river flows beneath. So at this point, even with just this sentence fragment, we know that there's a bridge. We know that the river Thames is under it. And another sentence that stands out as easy but pretty important is, now we are pressed for time. It's saying that it's urgent. Something needs to be done. So already, just from those two sentences, we already have a pretty good grasp of what the first paragraph is talking about. It's talking about a river. No, it's talking about a bridge, and below there's the river Thames. And it is a place to stand on. So the river Thames and this bridge is a place that people like to stand on. But now is the time for action. You can get a pretty good glimpse of what the paragraph is telling you from the most simple phrases. So keep that in mind. Let's keep reading. There they go, our brothers who have been educated at public schools and universities, mounting those steps, passing in and out of those doors, ascending those pulpits, preaching, teaching, administering justice, practicing medicine, transacting businesses, making money. So once again here, same strategy as before. All of this is just repetitive, fancy parallelism to make the author's point stand out. But if you're being honest, none of this really matters to the main idea of this sentence. It's just saying, there they go, our brothers, so men, our brothers who have been educated at public schools and universities. So it's saying that, oh, these men who are educated at public schools and universities are going. How? Like a procession. Like a ooh, that's a hard word. Like a caravanserai crossing a desert. This actually brings us a great segue into another tip you can use. Sometimes if you have a fancy word in an old sentence, you can use context clues or derivatives of that word to kind of come up with a decent guess for that answer. So I don't know the literal definition of caravanserai, but from the fact that it comes from caravan and it's talking about a desert, it's probably talking about like a large desert caravan. So this ending part, even though I have no idea what it means, it's not really important for me understanding what the passage is saying. So once again, just basic things to keep in mind when reading this passage. History passages in general. Don't get caught up in the fancy wording. Use context clues. So let's keep going. Okay. For the past 20 years or so, it is no longer a sight merely, a photograph or fresco scrawled upon the walls of time, at which we can look with merely an aesthetic appreciation. From there, trapezing along at the tail end of the procession, we go ourselves. And that makes a difference. We have looked so long at the pageant in books, or from the curtailed window, watched educated men leaving their house at about 9:30 to go to an office, returning to the home at about 6:30. Need look passively no longer. Once again here, we can simplify. All this middle fancy schmancy stuff doesn't really matter. Why? Because it's saying, we go ourselves, we need look passively no longer. That's all you need to know. And the we here isn't just referring to random people, it's obviously referring to women in general. We no longer need to watch the men do everything. We can start doing things too. And that's exactly what the rest of this paragraph is going to go over. We too can leave the house, can move those steps, pass in and out of those doors, make money, administer justice. We who now agitate these humble pens may in another century or two speak from a pulpit. Nobody will dare contradict us then. We shall speak the mouthpieces of the divine spirit, a solemn thought, is it not? Who can say whether as time goes on we may not dress in military uniform, with gold lace on our breasts, swords at our sides, and something like the old family coal scuttle on our heads, save that venerable object was never decorated with plumes of white horsehair. You laugh. Indeed, the shadow of the private house still makes those dresses look a little queer. We have worn private clothes so long, but we have not come here to laugh or to talk of fashion, men's and women's. Okay, this entire part, super long, right? Super fancy, but it's so simple to be summarized. It's literally this. Now we too can leave the house and we can do all of these things. So it's saying that women are now starting to gradually get the rights to do different things. But here there's a shift. This is another very important, clear sentence. But we have not come here to laugh, nor to talk of fashions, men's and women's. So it's saying that our goal isn't to laugh or talk about unserious things. We are here on the bridge to ask ourselves certain questions. And they are very important questions. And we have very little time in which to answer them. Okay, at this point, we're going to go answer question 35, because question 35 was asking about the bridge. Okay, according to the passage, Wolfe chooses the setting of the bridge because I have no idea what that check mark is doing there. Let's go through the answers. Okay, A, is conducive to a mood of fanciful reflection. Okay, so fanciful reflection is the part that I'm a little iffy about. Nothing about the bridge is really fanciful reflection. B, provides a good view of the procession of the sons of educated men. So far, this looks like a good answer to me. Why? Well, just look at the progression of the passage. It talks about a bridge, lays down the context, then it talks about the procession of men, and then it talks about the bridge again. And then it talks about the procession again here. So it's pretty obvious that the bridge and the procession of men are related. So This seems like a decent answer to me so far. Let's look at C. Is within the site of historic episodes to which she alludes. This is also just not correct because what historic episodes is she alluding to? What historical things does she mention specifically? She really doesn't, so this one's incorrect. And D is symbolic of the legacy of past and present sons of educated men. I don't think the bridge really serves as a symbol here. I think this is honestly a pretty difficult question just because all the answer choices kind of have tricks in them, but like I said before, the SAT is about picking the best answer. Even if you can't recognize this procession of the men, if you look at the other answers, you should be able to tell that this procession answer relates more to the passage than any of these other ones. So B is definitely the correct answer. Let's keep reading. Okay. The questions that we have to ask and to answer about that procession during this moment of transition are so important that they may well change the lives of all men and women forever. For we have to ask ourselves here and now, do we wish to join that procession? Above all, where is it leading us? The procession of educated men. The moment is short. It may last 5 years, 10 years, or perhaps only a matter of a few months longer. But you will object. You have no time to think. You have your battles to fight, your rent to pay, your bazaars to organize. That excuse shall not serve you, madam. Okay, at this point, we're going to go answer 38 because 38 was asking about the area just a little bit sentences above. Wolf characterizes the questions in lines 53 and 57. Let's go back and read those questions. We have to ask ourselves, do we wish to join the procession? What term should we join the procession? So what is she saying about these questions? Well, let's go here and kind of look at the answer choices and see what answers come up. Just give me one sec. Okay, so let's go and look at the answer choices. All right. We are here on the bridge to ask ourselves certain questions. Cool, mentions the questions, but nothing about its implications. So nope, that's not it. Let's see. Oh, there it is. And there it is. And they are very important questions, and we have very little time in which to answer them. Once again, doesn't really say, I think, too much about the characterization of these questions. So, yeah. I think, these just don't really make sense here. So, let's get rid of that. The next one, line 57. The moment is short. It may last 5 years, 10 years, or perhaps... sorry, I did not mean to do that. Let's go back. We're going to read that again. That's actually a really short quote. The moment is short. Okay, so the reason why I initially like this answer choice better than the other ones is because it's located after Virginia Woolf lists the questions, which means it actually has time to analyze it. The reason these two answer choices don't make that much sense is because they're located before before the questions that the previous 38 is asking about. So how can you characterize a question when it hasn't been answered yet? This one so far seems like the right answer because it comes after the question and it's talking about how these questions need to be answered soon. Let's look at line 62 and see if that one is also a good answer. That excuse shall not serve you, madam. That one's just not it. Really doesn't relate to the question. So C is the correct answer for 39, and it's talking about how the moment is short. So let's get an answer in 38 that matches that. Controversial and threatening. Doesn't really connect to that. Weighty and unanswerable. Also not really. Momentous and pressing. That seems like a great answer. Definitely has a pressing tone. Provocative and mysterious. It isn't really provocative or mysterious at all. It's more, we need to do this now, like chop chop, right? That's the overall vibe. So definitely C is the correct answer here. Now, I also think that this dual question was a little bit hard because A, B, and C all look pretty similar. So something to keep in mind when eliminating these dual answers is to think about where these lines are located. If the lines are located before what the question in 38 is asking about, then it just can't be an answer choice. That's why we can eliminate A and B and choose C for our answer. Okay, so let's just keep going through our passage. Okay. We were right here. As you know from our own experience, and there are facts that prove it, the daughters of educated men have always done their thinking from hand to mouth, not under green lamps at study tables in the cloisters of secluded colleges. They have thought while they stirred the pot, while they rocked the cradle. It was thus that they won us the right to our brand new sixpence. It falls to us now to go on thinking, how are we to spend that sixpence? Let's go answer 40. Which of the following captures the meaning of the figurative sixpence referred to in lines 70 and 71? Okay, so it's clearly talking about spending sixpence, brand new sixpence. Sixpence is like a form of money, so it's about buying, it's about being able to do something. So just things to keep in mind as you're answering the question. Tolerance, not necessarily. The sixpence isn't really about how well you can tolerate something. Knowledge, I also just don't think is correct because it's not really talking about your intelligence. Opportunity sounds like a great answer to me so far because it's talking a lot about so far about your ability to I guess find an opportunity and do these things. All right, so we're going to now answer questions 38 and 39 because they're dual questions, and we just read the section that it's talking about. Once again, same strategy as before. Wolf characterizes the question in lines 53 to 57 as both, so now we look at these answer choices and find the best one. 46 to 47. Okay. We are here on the bridge to ask ourselves certain questions. Great, it's talking about asking questions, not characterizing it. B, let's see. And there are very important questions, and we have very little time in which to answer them. Already that sounds like a great answer because it's mentioning what the questions are and it's talking about them. So far, B is a great answer. Let's look at C. Okay. The moment is short. It's just saying the moment is short. Isn't really referencing the questions at all. So, not it. And line 62. That excuse shall not serve you, madam. Also doesn't reference the questions at all, so definitely not it. So B is the correct answer for 39. It's talking about, let's just go back so I can show you. It's talking about we have very little time in which to answer them. So it's clearly urgent. So we're looking for an answer choice that shows urgency. Controversial and threatening, no. Weighty and unanswerable, no. Momentous and pressing, yes, definitely. Provocative and mysterious, no. So the answer for 38 is B. The answer for 38 is C, and the answer for 39 is B. Okay, so let's just keep on reading. As you know from your own experience, and there are facts to prove it, the daughters of educated men have always done their thinking from hand to mouth, not under green lamps at study tables in the cloister of secluded colleges. They have thought while they stirred the pot, while they rocked the cradle. It was thus that they won us the right to our brand new sixpence. It falls to us to now go on we must. It falls on us to go on thinking, how are we to spend that sixpence? Okay, so let's answer question 40. Which choice most closely captures the meaning of the figurative sixpence? Once again, we replace it with these words, see if it makes sense. Won us the right to our brand new tolerance. How are we to spend that tolerance? Doesn't really make sense. You can't really spend tolerance. You're just tolerant to people. Next one, brand new knowledge. How do we spend that knowledge? Doesn't really make sense because the word sixpence is talking about money, talking about spending it, talking about, I guess, being able to do different things. It really isn't talking about your intelligence, so definitely not that. Opportunity. Sounds promising so far. Let's go and see if it works. Has won us the right to our brand new opportunity. It falls on us to go on thinking, how are we to spend that opportunity? Sounds super smooth, connects to sixpence, probably the right answer. Let's look at D to make sure though. Perspective, our brand new perspective. How are we to spend that perspective? Can you really spend perspective? Not really, so D's incorrect. So the correct answer for 40 is clearly C. All right, let's keep going. We just have a little bit left. Let us think in offices, in omnibuses, while we are standing in the crowd watching coronations and Lord Mayor shows. Let us think in the gallery of the House of Commons, in the law courts. Let us think at baptisms and marriages and funerals. Let us never cease from thinking, what is this civilization in which we find ourselves? What are these ceremonies, and why should we take part in them? What are these professions, and why should we make money out of them? When, in short, is it leading us, the procession of the sons of educated men? Let's go answer 41. The range of places and occasions listed. Bunch of stuff. Lord's Mayor shows, House of Commons, marriages, baptisms, funerals. Mainly serves to emphasize how novel the challenges faced by women is. I think this is incorrect. Those different things aren't there to show like that these challenges are new. Pervasive the need for critical reflection is. So far, that seems like a good answer, because that's just makes sense. The reason why they list so many different areas where this problem exists is to show how pervasive or widespread it is. So, seems like a good answer. Complete the political and social issue complex, the political and social issues of the day are. This is a trick question, but I also don't think it's correct. You've got to think about this logically, right? What is the purpose of the author? One of the most important questions you should be asking. Well, by listing a bunch of different things, you're much more likely to show that this issue exists in a lot of areas than to show that this issue is complex. How is listing different things or different areas showing that the issue is complex? It really isn't. So C isn't the correct answer. And finally, D, enjoyable the career possibilities for a woman are. Definitely not it, because that's not what the sentences are being used to show. So B is the correct answer. Okay, so we have read the entire passage. So starting from the last answer, we're going to go through and answer all of them. All right, the main purpose of this passage is to emphasize the value of a tradition. Definitely not. It's saying the opposite. Stress the urgency of an issue. Sounds good so far. So much of this article is talking about the here and the now and that we need to do something. Question C, highlight the severity of social divisions. This essay does talk about social divisions, but the reason it's a trick question is because of the word here, highlight the severity. Nothing about this article really says, oh my gosh, the separation between men and women is so terrible. It much more talks about the urgency of the issue. So far, no. And D, questions the feasibility of an undertaking. Definitely not. It's saying that we should go for it. So B is the correct answer. All right, 33. The central claim of the passage is that educated women face a decision about how to engage with existing institutions. Sounds good for now, totally. That's exactly what the passage is saying. It's saying women are at a point in time when they are gathering more rights, and it is up to them to start asking questions about what to do with those rights. So yeah, great so far. B, women can have positions of influence in English society only if they give up some of their traditional roles. That's not really what it's saying. The male monopoly on power in English society has had grave and continuing effects. This passage doesn't really talk about men and the effects. It's more about like how women play into the role. The entry of educated women into positions of power traditionally held by men will transform those positions. This really doesn't talk about like transformation that much, so I'm going to get rid of that answer choice. The best answer is clearly A. Okay, 34. Virginia Woolf uses the word we throughout the passage, mainly to, we talked about that already, we, reflect the growing friendliness among a group of people. It's definitely not used to show friendliness. Advance the need for candor. Candor is like being truthful. I don't think using we makes something more truthful. Establishing a sense of solidarity among a group of people. Yes, so far that sounds like a great answer, because that's exactly why you would say we. It's saying we are in this together. It is establishing that solidarity. D, reinforce the need for respect. Nah, not really. C is the correct answer. All right, 2 more questions left, guys, to answer. So let's get through this. Woolf indicates that the procession she describes in the passage, let's look at the answer choices for 37, see if it connects. Okay. There they go, our brothers, blah, 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 money. This is talking about, like, what men are doing even before the procession is mentioned here, so A is definitely not the right answer for this. Yeah. All right. It is a solemn sight, a procession. Once again, it's just describing the procession, not really what's happening. Let's get C. For there, trapezing along that trail at the end of the procession, we go ourselves. Ooh, that's important because it's saying that the procession is changing. it's becoming more inclusive. More people are coming through. Definitely talking about the procession. So we're going to keep this answer choice. And then let's look at the other one. 30 to 34. We too can leave the house, can move those steps, pass in and out. Okay, this part's just talking about like the impacts that women have seen, not the procession. So that's not correct. C is the correct answer. Let's look at 36. Pick the right answer. The procession she describes has come to more practical influence. No. Has become a celebrated feature. Not really. It includes all of the richest and most powerful men. No. Has become less exclusionary in its membership. Exactly what C is talking about. All right, so now we went through all of these questions. Hopefully it wasn't too terrible. Once again, these videos are just a little longer because I have to explain everything and I'm trying to make sure you get the concepts. Hopefully it helped. Just one big thing that I want you to take away from this video. Don't let the fancy wording of the history passage get in the way of you understanding it. Just use the simple, concise sentences to get the context if you can. All right? Thank you so much for tuning into this video. Hopefully it helped, and I'll see you guys next time.